All right, and we are live. Welcome to Fantasy Blitz. Happy Tuesday morning. It's week 5 officially, and we got Eli back. If you guys were here on Thursday, you remember him. He was our awesome little guest star and gave us some great insight on Thursday, and we brought him back for Tuesdays. Waiver wire and trade targets today.
Yes, sir.
So welcome back. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Glad to be back.
We're trying to get him on the show.
Football. Yeah.
Try to get you on as much as we can. Should be a good recurring theme here.
Absolutely.
Right, let's see if we sound good. Yep. We are good to go. So not a whole lot crazy stuff happened this last weekend. A lot of players did really, really well.
Yep.
So there's not that many like surprises or disappointments or anything like that. No crazy injuries, I don't think. Unless I'm missing anything.
No injuries that stood out or anything that will really affect your team, but just
a couple of defensive injuries, I think. I'm trying to think if anybody got really hurt. Herbert got banged up. He'll be okay.
Yeah, that man's a cyborg. You see with his hand?
Yeah, he really,
I don't know what they put on that man's hand.
And then he throw a dime on third down.
I know.
Ice that game.
I know.
Anyways, nothing crazy happened. Let's jump into the waiver wire. A couple of these guys are going to be like maybe available, maybe not available. Talking about Thielen, C.J. Stroud, maybe Jalen Warren. But we decided to include them anyways just because they're kind of these fringe guys that if you're in a shallow league, they might be there, and maybe somebody that you should be looking at. So like I was saying, starting with Thielen, we talked about him last week. He's been quietly, like, decent.
Yeah.
Really decent. Putting up, I think, double digits every game.
As far as fantasy points goes?
Fantasy points, yeah.
Now, the targets, I think, have also been around double digits. So if you can have double-digit targets, I think that's always phenomenal.
Yeah, and on a terrible, terrible Panthers team, that's about as good as we can get.
I don't know what's going on with them. So.
I mean, it's sad. Whatever's going on, it's sad. I don't like it.
Not too sad as a Falcons fan.
Yeah, true.
Put that out.
True. But Thielen's been great. He's got a bunch of catches. Let me pull up his stats real quick, and we can just see. Let's go to. We don't have this. I forgot. I don't think. No, we don't. No. Desktop capture. And then. Oh, we might.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Is this going to do it too? It is. I'm a genius. All right, so we'll just pull up his stats real quick, just to take a look at some of these.
Not the Saints.
Yeah. I don't know what they were doing up there. Okay, lots of targets. That's what I'm seeing initially. That's going to jump off the board at you. I know his first game was a little slow.
It's good against a good Falcons secondary.
Yeah, a decent Falcons secondary, and then had 9 targets, 14 targets, 8 targets. That's like wide receiver 1 target numbers right there, which is totally fine.
Oh, yeah.
54 yards and a touchdown, 145 and a touchdown. That's an insane game. 8 for 76. Like, those are really decent numbers for a guy who is potentially on the waiver wires right now.
Yeah. And they're not winning games, too. So imagine if Carolina starts to pick it up. I'm sure they'll have to use him more if they really want to start winning games. It looks like they're already using him as much as they can. But
they are. I wish that was a Miles Sanders thing, but it's not, unfortunately. No. Whatever they're doing with him.
It was a stinker last week.
Yeah, whatever they're doing with him, it's not working, which is kind of frustrating. Moving on to the next guy I think I want to talk about is Romeo Doubs. And he's the Packers, I guess, right now, number 1. I would have said Christian Watson, but he was like non-existent last week. So as of right now, today, Tuesday, the 3rd of October, it's Romeo Doubs.
Breaking news.
Yeah, so he's the number 1 guy. He's had plenty of work recently. I'll pull up him again also, so we can take a look at his stats. But he's been really, really decent as far as, let's see, as far as just getting consistent targets, getting consistent red zone looks, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of, 12 and 13 targets in the last 2 games.
25 targets total, last 2 games.
We're talking like Puka Nacua targets.
Yeah, wow, we're comparing him to, what in the world? We're comparing Romeo Doubs to Puka Nacua. This is a weird NFL year.
Target share, that's all it is.
We'll take it.
But like 5 for 73 and a touchdown, that's a great game.
That's great.
For a guy on the waiver of targets, awesome. Take that every day. The Packers are a little weird because they spread the ball around like a lot. But still, that's super consistent as far as for a Packers player.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen when Aaron Jones and Christian Watson get fully worked back in. It was pretty clear last week, unfortunately, that they were like decoys. Aaron Jones got 5 touches. Christian Watson had a catch, I think.
Yeah, I think he had 2 catches for 25, and that touchdown really saved him. Just a little bit, but still.
Still, like, man, whatever was going on there was just not fun.
No.
Packers love him. They're going to spread it around. If Romeo Doubs is there, it couldn't hurt to have him on your bench and maybe fill in for a receiver or a flex spot.
Yeah, I was about to say he's definitely a perfect flex position if you're in a deeper league.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely not a hard target to get, I would say, because he's not the most attractive name out there, but it's Romeo Doubs. Look at the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are there. And he was good last year, too.
Yeah.
Granted, he's really good when Christian Watson isn't there.
Yep.
So if you saw his splits last year, it was like first half of the year when Christian Watson was either really bad or injured, Romeo Doubs was great.
Yep.
And everybody who had him. And then Christian Watson comes back and does his thing, and it's like, Romeo Doubs is number 2.
There you go.
That'll probably happen again. We'll see. For now, throw him on your bench. Couldn't hurt.
Just have him.
QB time. Joshua Dobbs. Talk about a surprise for the NFL.
Yeah, no, that was kind of insane. Shout out Alpharetta High School. But but that's just crazy because the Cardinals were supposed to be, not the greatest team this year. But now they competed with the 49ers last week.
Yeah.
And because of Joshua Dobbs. He spread the ball out really well. And he's also a great quarterback overall. He can move and he can throw.
He is, and he seems like a pretty cool guy. Like he posts on like TikTok and stuff a lot. Like he's kind of chilling.
You see the jersey thing?
Yeah,
That was so funny.
Weird jersey fiasco, but he seems like a really chill guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not enough to bring him on your fantasy roster, but he's been playing decent.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say he's top 10 or anything, but if you need a guy to fill in on your bye weeks for like if you have Herbert or something who's on bye week 5, just FYI, maybe try him out.
Go for Dobbs.
And if you don't have him available, you might, this is probably less likely, you might have C.J. Stroud available. And while we're here, like C.J. Stroud, he's looking like the dude.
What's going on
and
in
he's
Houston?
on the Texans, man.
I know, that's what I was saying. The Texans? Having a good player on offense?
Let me pull this up,
What's going on? 0 interceptions, I think, so far.
Which is just...
I think so, yeah. Wow. Okay, those are incredible numbers.
Yeah, they are. He's just extremely consistent. I think it was like he's got the most passes without an interception of any player right now for the first
through the first 4 games, I think,
something like that. Which is just where am I going? Which is just awesome. Like, look at this stat line: 306 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's not crazy amount of touchdowns, but like 306 for 2 touchdowns, that's more than enough to fill in for somebody. Like, I don't think he should be your number 1 right now. Maybe in the future.
Maybe, yeah.
But right now, he's played some decent defenses too. Baltimore, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh. Those are decent teams.
Good. I was very surprised by his performance against the Steelers because I thought the Steelers were going to manhandle the Texans' offense, but
I think everybody did.
I mean, 30 points. And also what I'm looking at is his attempts per game.
A lot.
We got 44, 47, 30, and 30.
I mean, that's like Justin Herbert number attempts right there. Like he's slinging that thing.
Yeah, 30 attempts on a 30 to, what is that, 6?
What are we looking at here?
For the Pittsburgh game?
Yeah.
30 to 6 score.
He went 16 for 30. 16 is not a lot of completions.
No.
But 30 attempts is decent. And honestly, those 16 completions, most of them went to Nico Collins.
Yes.
And he's a stud and ended up with 306 yards and 2 touchdowns for C.J. Stroud. That's awesome. I really love the Texans right now. I mean, I think if they can get their O-line back, like, they're a legit team.
They could do something. They could be a threat to the AFC South.
For real, which is
100%.
So weird.
Go back in time, say Texans, by the way.
Go back in time to week 1.
Yeah.
Week 1, they got beat 25-9. Everybody was like, Texans.
Throw them out of the garbage.
Yeah, whatever. C.J. Stroud, 242 yards, no touchdowns. Boring. Whatever. Texans didn't do anything. And then week 2. C.J. Stroud, 384 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I feel like that game went a little bit under the radar as well.
It did.
Just a little bit, just because rookie quarterback. And they also lost, so they're 0-2. So a lot of players, like fantasy players, are not going to look at him that way. But now that his team's winning games because of C.J. Stroud, definitely brings him up more.
So if you're thinking about Texans offensive players, I mean, as far as like holding or selling or buying, I would buy Dameon Pierce right now at an all-time low. I think this is his lowest point he's going to look all year, probably.
Oh, yeah.
His offensive line is slowly going to start coming back. I think some of the Texans beat reporters are talking like week 5, week 6, where most of the guys are going to be back. If he can get 2 offensive linemen back, that team's going to be 3 times better. It's going to be awesome. And if you watch Dameon Pierce in the last game, he looked really good and actually had a touchdown taken away from him by a penalty. So that would have been, I mean, he would have had like 17 or 18 fantasy points in PPR leagues last week, which is great. And then he ended up with like 11, and everybody's like,
mid. But this is his floor, ladies and gentlemen. This is his floor. This is not, some of them were averaging for Dameon Pierce. This is his floor right now. So, like you said, if you can buy him, get him.
Yeah, I'm buying Pierce. I'm holding on to Nico Collins, and I'm loving every second of it.
Got to.
And I am picking up C.J. Stroud off the waiver wire. Anyways, next up, we've got, where are we at? Jake Ferguson, Cowboys tight end. We talked about him last week a little bit on I think it was the starts and sits video that we talked about him. And we got a little bit of like, really? We're starting Ferguson? Like, people didn't really understand a little bit. But like we said on Thursday, he's getting the most red zone targets of any player.
Yep.
Dak is looking his way all the time. And he's just been like a super consistent tight end in a year where tight ends are not very good.
Nope.
So let me pull up his numbers real quick, too.
This is a weird year for tight ends as well, just because if you don't have Kelsey or Andrews, you're not having a consistent guy. Or Laporta, I should say, but this guy right here, man, Ferguson.
I mean, 7 targets, 4 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets. I mean, and his week 1 was really slow. 2 catches for 11 yards, that's nothing. But then he has 3 for 11 and a touchdown. Then he has 5 for 48, and now he has 7 catches for 77 yards.
On 7 targets.
On 7 targets. That's good for a tight end.
That's phenomenal.
And this guy's, I think he's rostered in like, I don't know, less than 20% of leagues or something
He's not,
like that.
he's not rostered a lot across because I picked him up and I dropped him. Sorry. But I picked up Hunter Henry, but it was just surprising to me that he was even on that waiver wire.
Yeah, I mean, he's there and he's super consistent when a lot of teams, like, if you don't have Kelsey, Andrews, maybe Evan Ingram you could throw in there, and then like Laporta, you don't have one of the top 4 to 5 guys, throw him in there.
Get in there.
Give him a shot. I mean, he's been way better than Kittle's been so far, which is crazy to think about.
Jake Ferguson is better than George Kittle. You heard it here
mark
first.
it down. Next guy up on here is Jonnu Smith, another tight end that we can talk about. Now we're kind of jumping around a little bit, so I apologize. But Jonnu Smith, Falcons. We got a Falcons homer in the house right now.
Yeah. Let me just, Arthur Smith, Jonnu Smith, he's a good tight end, a little bit past his, healthy stage, I would say, of just like his prime in a way. But he's getting targets. I don't want to say unfortunately, because for him it's not unfortunate, but Jonnu Smith has been, pull up. I think the Packers game is also where he kind of took off a little bit.
Yeah.
He did well with the Packers, but
I don't know why he only has 3 games.
But he's getting 20 targets in 3 games.
Yeah.
When you got Kyle Pitts on your team, and if he's taking away those targets, that's actually really
that's
good.
fine. And on Sunday he had 6 for 95.
Yeah. And these are good catches, too. He had one catch for 31 yards, I believe, and the yards after catch was about 20
And they're looking his way when they need it.
Yeah.
Like 3rd downs and
He's
4th
all reliable
downs
on this team.
And
it is crazy.
They're definitely giving him shots, which is really exciting. Let me check our chat here. We got one that's showing up on my phone and not over there. It says, wasn't Watson on a snap count, though? He was on a snap count, I think.
Yeah.
I think him and Jones were on a snap count. The Packers don't usually do snap counts. They usually just have their players go in and play. But, I mean, it really did look like Jones and Watson were on snap counts. So I think moving forward, they should be okay. Going back to Romeo Doubs for a second, I think he'll be okay, too, until Christian Watson is fully in his strides again and Aaron Jones is fully in his strides again. I think Romeo Doubs will be fine. But, yeah, Watson was on a snap count. So, sorry, back to Jonnu Smith for a second. 6 for 6 on 95 yards.
And the average on the, what was that, 15?
15.8.
Almost 16, yeah. That man.
I mean, 16 yards per catch on a tight end. What more can you want?
It would be weird nowadays, not knowing the numbers and not to start Jonnu Smith in your league, but maybe he's not a guy you want to start necessarily, but he's definitely a guy you would say, I got a solid backup tight end, on my like an actual backup tight end.
100%.
That does produce. So if you put him in, expect I don't want to say 5 points because that's low, but expect at least 5 to 6 points, like at least, I would say.
Floor 5 to 6 points. I mean, he hasn't had lower than 8 points this year.
Yeah.
So I think that's safe to say. I would love to see him get a little bit more red zone looks. Honestly, the Falcons aren't in the red zone very often.
So we can't give him looks because we're not in there.
The last 2 games, they scored 6 points and 7 points.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Woof.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't going in the red zone. But if they can get in the red zone, I think they probably will start looking his way. I know they're looking Drake London for the most part right now.
Yeah, but that's what exactly they did against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Look for Drake London.
Which is fine. I like Drake London. Let's go back to our full shot. Oh, we already are. Okay, perfect. I'm all back with you. After Jonnu Smith, we have Tyler Boyd. This is an interesting one, and I'm only throwing in there. I'm not a Tyler Boyd fan at all, really.
Yeah.
But I'm throwing him in there because T. Higgins fractured a rib. So that usually, I mean, he might play. I doubt it, though. I think he misses a week or 2 weeks.
Yep.
Just keep an eye on T. Higgins. If T. Higgins doesn't play, Tyler Boyd becomes the number 2 guy. I know the Bengals have been struggling a lot, but you can't really discredit the number 2 guy on a Bengals offense. Like,
no, you can't. And also, if you have T. Higgins, this is who you want to go for, Tyler Boyd, just to replace that hole. So not if you don't have T. Higgins, this isn't a guy that you wouldn't want to go for, but just to have just in case. But definitely, if you have T. Higgins, try to get Tyler Boyd.
He's been really disappointing this year. That's why I was saying, like, I'm not a huge fan of his. He's getting a decent amount of targets still, which is why he's on this list. Like, he's getting okay targets, 8 targets, 9 targets, 7 targets. Like, that's pretty good.
It's not terrible.
I know the Bengals have sucked recently, but, like, I would have him on there, especially with T. Higgins, a little gimpy.
Yeah.
I would have him on there. Just something to consider. And then finally, for the waiver wire is Jaylen Warren. This is another guy like Thielen who's probably already rostered, probably not available on the waiver wire. But if he is, he's going to be really solid to just have as a backup running back because he catches a lot of passes.
Yep.
Like a lot of passes. He's projected like 10 to 12 points every week, and then gets somewhere around there in PPR leagues. So if you're in a PPR league and you need a guy that's just going to like be fairly consistent, fairly safe to play, I think Jaylen Warren's really not a bad plug.
He was probably the biggest handcuff to pick up this in the beginning of the season because everyone knew that Najee could have a bust year so far, and so far he had his best games against Texans. But Jaylen Warren, he's one of those guys that if you're lucky enough, he should be available. But be prepared for him not to be. But he also has Jaylen Warren, so a lot of guys might not want to pick him up.
Yeah, and that backfield has been pretty much as close to 50-50 split between him and Najee as you can get. They put Jaylen Warren in on the passing downs for the most part, which is nice. I love that out of running backs. That's been awesome. And he's not getting a lot of red zone carries or anything like that. But it's about as consistent as you can get for a pass-catching running back. Okay, last section here. Trade targets. Everybody's always asking questions about trades and stuff. I like to have, usually in our later shows, we have a lot more people asking about like, should I trade this for this or this for this, and what we like to give advice for that. But this is just our general, hey, if you're out there, give these guys a look. Starting off, Breece Hall, been really, really slow, except for week 1, but really, really slow. That being said, he's had a really tough run of defenses to play against, excuse me. So they've been playing from behind, so they've been having to throw the ball a lot, and he hasn't been getting a lot of carries, but when he does, like, man, he looks good.
He does look good. He looks athletic, and he looks like he never tore his ACL. He looks fine out there, but...
And last Sunday night, I know that it was kind of a disappointing game for the Jets, but Breece Hall had some good carries, and one of them was for 40 yards.
Yeah, no.
Like, he had a 40-yard carry, which doesn't show up on paper after the fact, but like that's an awesome, it's a 43-yard carry. That's great. Week 1, he had an 83-yard carry.
I remember that. That was like near the open up the game.
Yeah, it was.
I remember that.
So he's getting really good, he's getting solid carries. He looks athletic. He's getting a couple of targets here and there, 2 targets, 4 targets, something like that. But if you look at the defenses that he's played, that's about as tough as you can get.
Yeah, that's a tough defense, especially with, oddly enough, he did his best game against Buffalo.
Which is weird.
Which is really weird. But that was week 1, tensions were rising, but
playing against Buffalo, and then Dallas, and then New England, and then Kansas City. Kansas City is not an elite defense by any means, but they're definitely, on the upper half of defenses. They're fine.
Yeah.
And they're playing from behind every single game against these tough defenses. The schedule should lighten up a little bit, should get a little bit easier, which means more work for Breece Hall. And I think a lot of the Breece Hall owners right now drafted him as their RB1 or 2.
Yeah.
And they're probably looking to move on from him and get another guy who's a little bit more consistent.
Yep.
But if you can swoop in right now and snag him, I would take that all day.
Do it.
Speaking of another running back you should swoop in and snag, Ramondre Stevenson also has been really disappointing this year. Also has had a really tough run of defenses to play against.
Yeah.
And they've been playing from behind, a lot. Let me pull this up real quick, too.
Oof. That averages.
Yeah, but again,
Yeah, no.
3 really tough defenses, Philadelphia, the Jets, and Dallas. Those are tough defenses, and he's getting...
And they're working them.
Yeah, he's getting carries, man. He's getting... I know last year people drafted him for the target share. That being said, they're not really throwing to him as they probably shouldn't be, but they're not really throwing to him on like third downs and when they really need him. They're like Mac Jones is chucking the ball a lot.
Yep.
But he's getting 12 carries, 15 carries, 19 carries, 14 carries. That's running back one carries.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not really turning into much. But that schedule, again, like Breece Hall, should be lightening up a little bit.
Yep.
The Patriots should be realizing that they need to work him in more. Like they're kind of ignoring it. Mac Jones has been terrible recently. I think if they can get him going again, they'll be a lot better, and he should be a much more viable starter. If you can convince the Ramondre or Breece Hall owner to sort of move him on for somebody else, I think it'd be easier.
Someone light, though. Someone light. You don't want to give up too much for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, don't go crazy on it. However, like if you had Ramondre last year, you know what he's capable of.
Oh, yeah,
he was
absolutely.
awesome last year.
Yeah, it's a slow start, and also we're still – and I know the season probably feels like it's moving pretty quickly, but we've only played 4 games.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
we still
we're
got
4
time.
games in. I mean, and he's getting the carries.
Yep.
That's really what we're kind of looking at with these running backs is like, are they getting the work?
Yep.
You know, and I know a lot of people are talking about Miles Sanders right now and guys like Dameon Pierce and stuff. And it's like, I know they haven't been great on paper, but they are getting the work, and their schedules are going to get easier, and the teams are going to start clicking a little bit better. Like, just hang on to those guys. If you're an owner of Ramondre or Breece Hall, I would recommend hanging on. If you don't own them,
Get them.
buy low.
Get them.
Try and buy them. I would imagine that you're going to be able to get them. A final running back, while we're talking about running backs, that you can buy low on is Aaron Jones. If the owner of Aaron Jones isn't really keeping up with the Packers, I think there's a good chance that you could snag him for somebody really cheap. I'm currently in trade talks with the Aaron Jones owner right now, and there have been talks about swapping him 1-for-1 with Khalil Herbert, which would be... Now, we'll talk about this guy in a second. Yes,
Hello?
the Matt... Hold on.
Hold on.
So, Khalil Herbert had an insane game
Yep.
last week, which is, I mean,
Weird.
it makes sense. The Denver Broncos just allowed like 200 or 300 yards rushing to the Dolphins.
I don't get it.
And then now Khalil Herbert has a great game. Like, okay, obviously he just played a really bad defense. But if the Aaron Jones owner isn't really keeping up with the Packers, and he doesn't know, like, okay, he was on a snap count and he was kind of hurt, and like he will be back. Everybody who's a Packers fan knows he's coming back. If he doesn't know that, and then sees Khalil Herbert that had a really good game,
How we doing?
a swap can be made. I'm just
Definitely
saying.
would.
So I would target Aaron Jones. Everybody knows that he's the focal point of this Packers offense. At least he should be and will be, I think, moving forward. So I would target him and target him confidently. The final guy on the buy low is Jalen Waddle. Now, he's been really disappointing because a lot of people drafted him as wide receiver 2. Some people got him as a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he got drafted really early.
Yeah.
I was in a lot of leagues where I saw him go round 2.
Yeah.
And I was not shocked too much because it's Jalen Waddle. So even a wide receiver 2 getting drafted in the second round, that's incredible. But so far this season, he just hasn't been putting it up there. Do you want to pull up his stats with Jalen Waddle?
Yeah, in my league, he got taken before Chris Olave.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I mean, that was just the hype that he had coming into
he had
this
a lot
year.
of hype coming in.
He just had a lot of hype behind him, and
Zero
I mean,
touchdowns on the season.
Yeah, 0 and 4 catches a game. I mean, he's getting decent yardage out of them, like 19 and a half average on this one, 21 and a half averaging. That, like, those are good. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is the guy. They know that. Everybody knows that. But Jalen Waddle hasn't been getting those looks. Again, though, playing some tough
defenses, yeah.
Like,
These are tough
and the
defenses.
Bills secondary, R.I.P. Tre'Davious White, tore his ACL or tore his Achilles. Or something
Yeah, I think it's
like
Achilles.
But their secondary is awesome.
Yeah.
And they showed. I mean, they shut down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
But moving forward, I think Jalen Waddle steps in a little bit. They realize they need to spread the ball out a little bit more. They can't just keep feeding. I mean, I guess they can keep feeding H.N. and Mostert and Tyreek, but Jalen Waddle should,
He should be. And that Miami offense is smart. Mike Daniels is smart. So they know that they have this guy on their team and that 4 catches per game is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Tua knows because, they have that connection. But I definitely see him able to get in there more, a whole lot.
Yeah, and you can probably get him real cheap right now.
Oh, real cheap.
Real cheap.
Because those numbers aren't impressive at all.
No, they're not. And the owners of them, like I was saying, probably have them as their wide receiver 1 or 2. Like, they're probably pissed.
Oh, yeah.
I would be pissed.
I'd be pissed too, just because, never
Jalen
fun
Waddle.
seeing your top 3 draft picks ever underperforming or being hurt. So.
I know, and it's like it's Jalen Waddle. He should be the guy putting up 30, 40 points. Like, he should be doing these deep touchdowns and, like, it's just not happening.
Get a little Waddle in the end
little.
zone.
little waddle.
A little some.
It should be happening. It's not yet, but it will. I think it will be happening. Now, on to the fun ones, the sell high guys. We mentioned Khalil Herbert when we were talking about Aaron Jones. Had a crazy game against Denver. I think that's going to happen a lot with a lot of different teams. They're going to have some crazy games against Denver. Denver is a wow.
Yeah, that is a dumpster fire over there.
Yeah.
But even though they walked away with a W, I don't know
it's
how
against
they
the
did.
Bears,
yeah,
man. That's
exactly. I mean, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He said that the Bears it seems like they have perfected the tank.
Oh, they have.
Because that's unbelievable.
But the thing is,
that?
they perfected the tank, and it doesn't look like they want to.
Exactly.
Like, if you watch the Cardinals in that second half of the Giants game, you're like, okay, they're trying to tank.
That's tanking.
Like, they're tanking. The Bears are not trying to tank.
They're a team to mess up and be like, yeah, we're tanking.
Yeah, of course.
Of course we're tanking.
Man, seeing on Twitter the Justin Fields and DJ Moore and Khalil Herbert owners that are just like, oh, I hate the Bears now. I hate them. When 3 weeks ago they were like, Bears have got the NFC North.
Yep.
Like, it's no question.
No.
Anyways, Khalil Herbert had a great game. I believe he had his first. Did he have his first touchdown? I think he did.
I think he did score.
I think he had a receiving touchdown. Let's see.
Yeah,
Double check
that's
this
what
real
it's
quick. Yep, receiving touchdown. 5 targets for 4 receptions and a touchdown.
Not bad.
For him, that's awesome. 18 carries, 103 yards. Not going to happen again, I don't think, unless he plays a really squishy defense again.
Yeah, no.
But I think moving forward, Fields is kind of the guy that's going to do a lot of the running. I hope they let him run some more. They let him run a little bit against Denver. They need to allow that more if they're going to win some games against real defenses.
A whole lot more. It was just so surprising to me because the Bears have a lot of talent on that team. I just don't know what's clicking. I mean, I do, but I don't.
Yeah, it's just not there. I know Fields had a great game against Denver, but it's against Denver, man.
Denver,
if you watch him against any other semi-competent team, it's like, whoa.
No, it's not fantastic.
Whoa.
Not even good.
Anybody can look good against Denver.
No.
So, Khalil Herbert, try and sell him. I think you can sell him for decent right now. Like, he had 30-something fantasy points in PPR leagues last week. So, see what you can do. Another Bear. This is sort of Bears editions of the Sell High.
One of these names is not like the other.
Yeah. This is the Bears edition of the Sell High. DJ Moore also had a great game, also against the Broncos. So this is going to be a continuing theme. Like, apparently people are like, oh, he was shadowed by Pat Surtain the whole time. Pat Surtain is not that good.
No, he used to, and he had that little run, was it 2 years ago or last year or so? But yeah, no, this year we have definitely seen him get a little exposed just from all around.
And he got exposed a little bit last year. I mean, I distinctly remember watching him play. I know it's Devontae Adams, but I remember watching him play against Devontae Adams and being like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's Devontae, I know.
That's right. Devontae does that to people, though. But
He does, but also, like, Lattimore shut down Devontae. Like people shut him down. Yeah. Pat Surtain is talked up as being like this top 3 corner in the league.
Yeah.
And now it's like DJ Moore and the Bears are like scoring.
Firing up on you?
What?
Why is that?
I don't like that. Anyways, Denver sucks. DJ Moore had a great game. I think that he can be a wide receiver too, maybe. However, I don't want him.
No.
I'm not. I really don't want him on my teams. I think if you can move him for somebody better, like, I don't really know who you would target with him.
I don't either, but he's been somewhat consistent, but not in the consistent way that you want him to be.
Yeah.
I would say just because he's been putting up low teens number, not even teens, like I think it's like 10, 11, 13 or something, which is okay, but...
And then had a great game last week. But
yeah, that alone won't win you games. A.J. Brown type numbers, like those, that will win you games.
Yeah.
But we're not even talking about that.
No, and he I know he's like, he is talented enough to be a wide receiver 1, too.
Yep.
Fields, I don't think, can support a wide receiver 1, 2. Hasn't shown he can in the past, and I don't think he's starting to show it this year. Maybe he does, maybe not. I would love to move away from all of my Bears players, and they had an insane game last week. Cole Kmet included, our third guy on here.
Yep.
He had 2 touchdowns last week. Man, that's not going to happen again.
Not going to happen again, especially for a tight end.
It's just
a guy like Cole Kmet in on the Bears. No.
Yeah, it just is not going to happen again. I really don't think it'll happen again. If it does, great. Enjoy Cole Kmet owners.
Have fun.
I would just love to take all these Bears players that just did really well and be like, somebody else.
See,
like,
they can do good.
Yes.
Take them away.
Even if I'm a Fields owner. If I'm a Fields owner, I'm moving him.
I'm trying. It's not going to happen.
It's tough, but he had a great fantasy game against the Broncos.
Yep.
Against the Broncos. So.
Great fantasy game.
Yeah, he throws for 4 touchdowns.
You know, like
Fields
3 incompletions too.
Yeah.
That just shows how bad the Broncos really are.
Really. I mean,
Really bad.
really does. And maybe they changed their scheme up a little bit to get him some shorter looks
Yeah.
and whatever. Like, I think he is going to be better moving forward. But man, I just can't see these Bears players being consistent starts every single week. I would much rather have. I don't really know who you could target for DJ Moore. My initial thinking was like, what if I could go grab like Nico Collins for DJ Moore? But then I'm like, okay, Nico Collins just had some insane games.
Yeah, it would be tough.
If I'm holding Nico Collins, I'm not trading him for that.
Nope.
But maybe somebody who doesn't really know sees Nico Collins like Texans. Nico Collins, I don't know this guy.
Texans have been bad past 5 years.
Yeah. And same thing like with the Aaron Jones owners. Like if they're not keeping up with the Texans at all, like they might be able to move on from somebody like Nico Collins or maybe even somebody like Jalen Waddle. Like the owner of Jalen Waddle might be pretty pissed and sees DJ Moore numbers and like, whoa, hold on.
He's been doing okay.
That could be the wide receiver too I wanted.
Yep.
We'll see. I would get rid of all the Bears. Final guy, Gabe Davis. We talk about him a lot. He is the boomer bust king. Him and Tyler Lockett are the goats of boomer bust. And last week he didn't really boom, but like he did Gabe Davis things where he had 2 catches for 40-something yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. That's just how it's phenomenal if you made the choice to start him.
Yeah.
But it's never a confident situation where you
It's not.
put him in and you think, okay, I can guarantee some points because he could just walk away with nothing.
He had one very consistent game against the Raiders, of
Wow.
course. 6 for 92 and a touchdown. That's awesome. But then every week outside of that, 2 for 32 yards. 1 for 35. And that is a Gabe
That's
Davis
the most Gabe
game
Davis.
right here.
What is
1
that?
for 35 and a touchdown. Like
It's like, hey, man, I did what you want me to do.
Yeah.
Shout out. But no, that's not what we need. The Bills need that from him, but not us owners.
And then against Miami, 3 for 61 and a touchdown. Like that's so
it's not terrible numbers,
No,
but
it's
like
not,
you
but-
don't 3 targets. You don't need to be starting this man.
You had those games, and then you have the 2 for 32.
Yeah, you can get him out.
Yeah, I would move him right now because he's had 3 touchdowns in a row. He could continue to have a touchdown every single game, and I'm still not happy with 12, 13, 14 points out of him. Like that's his ceiling right now is anywhere below 20 points.
Yep.
I would love to move him for somebody a little bit more consistent. I don't know who you could move him for, really. Probably a low-end wide receiver, too.
Yeah, you
maybe
definitely-
Christian Watson would be a good target to move Gabe Davis for.
I would make that move all day just because, this is kind of what we're looking at. This is the Gabe Davis carbon copy. Like,
Yes.
This is what we would expect. But with Christian Watson, rough game last time, but snap count.
Yeah.
He can definitely improve on later, especially with Jordan Love getting better.
Yeah.
That Packers offense can really do some damage if they
I mean,
get healthy.
They showed it. I know it was against the Bears week 1, but like 38 points week 1. They barely lost to the Falcons. The defense lost to the Falcons on week 2. Amazing comeback against the Saints on week 3. And then they got dogged by the Lions. However, the second half, the Packers looked mad decent.
Not too
Like,
bad.
They put
And
up
also-
20 points in the second half. Like,
Yeah, the Lions are good too. So
Yeah.
we're past this stage of playing Detroit. That's all good.
Yeah.
Like now Detroit actually looks like a little bit of a threat.
And this is a Packers team that has been without Aaron Jones and Christian Watson for 3 games now.
Yep.
Essentially 3. I know Christian Watson had a touchdown last week, but he really wasn't playing.
Yeah.
They had him. He got a touchdown on a busted coverage on one of the 5 snaps that he was out there. And it was a short one. So, keep an eye on that. I would try and trade for Christian Watson. He's not on here, but that's a fun target to look for. And especially if you've got one of these guys, like maybe throw them around, see if you can get somebody better. Anyways, I think that's it for the trade targets. We'll be back on Thursday. Are you coming here Thursday?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Sweet. So let's go back to
Bless.
our little title screen here. We'll be back on Thursday, hopefully around the usual time in the afternoons, usually like 4 or 4:30 or something like that. So that way we can be a little bit more consistent with our timing. If you're here right now, thank you. I know it's early. I know it's a little weird, probably a little bit sloppy this morning, but just thanks for showing up. Hopefully we gave you some advice. I'm active on Twitter all the time at FantasyBLTZ, and I'm answering trade target questions and waiver questions and starts and sit questions, all that kind of stuff. Love that kind of responses from the community, so keep that up. Turn on notifications, subscribe for us. Like I said, we're live at weird times. Like it just happens. If you turn on notifications, you won't miss it though. So
That helps a lot. Tell a friend to subscribe to Fantasy Blitz. We're so
Yeah.
close to 250 subs.
Yeah.
So if everyone just tells one friend,
Yeah.
Double up and then tell that friend to tell a friend.
Yeah, and that's that's great advice. Like, if there's somebody in your league who's like, man, this person needs a little help, like,
Hey, send them over.
Like, throw them over here and
Send
just
them
see if
over.
they can get something out of it. I mean, we've had some responses from people that we know that are like, hey, I didn't even know that I should have started David Montgomery last week, and then I watched y'all and he went off.
I actually had a couple. I didn't start Montgomery, but like looked back and I saw, I was like,
Yeah, we had a guy in the comments
Come
on, I think it was, I don't remember when it was, but somebody responded on one of our videos and was like, hey, you guys just told me to start David Montgomery on Thursday. I didn't even remember he was healthy, and he went off. And I was like, that's awesome. Like,
There you
that's
go.
why we're here.
this is what we're doing.
So like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We're live at weird times. We're trying to get more consistent. Eli's going to be here on Thursday if you like him.
So hopefully y'all like me.
Hopefully we get
I know I'm not
back.
Nick, but you know.
We'll get Nick back at some point, and we'll be back on Thursday.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you guys. And we do that.